Welcome to this first edition of Beans Podcast, where we're going to interview Lens about Unico Nutrition to know more about the story and how they manage customer relations. All right,
Yeah.
Lens. So, do you mind telling us a bit about yourself and about your brand, how it gets started?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Lance Herrington. I started Unico Nutrition about 11 years ago now. And I started it when I was in college. So I was a college hockey player at the University of Vermont from 2008 to 2012. And during that time, the NCAA, which is the regulatory kind of governing body of our sport, they ramped up their drug testing policy in a big way. So all of the powders and the energy drinks and things like that we would take to perform at a high level, we were no longer allowed to take them because we didn't know exactly what was in them. And our coaches didn't want us to risk our eligibility just for the sake of taking a supplement. So we weren't allowed to take any of that anymore. But, I knew that we benefited greatly from those products. We were doing 2-hour practices followed by 2-hour weightlifting sessions in the gym and plyometrics and all these things. So I ended up working with our sports nutrition department to develop kind of our own homemade, if you will, versions of these products that were very stripped down, right? They were just no flavoring even in the initial runs. They didn't taste very good, but we were able to get that recovery and the performance benefit of some of these ingredients without risking our eligibility because we knew what we were putting into them. So there was no risk of failing a drug test. So that's how I got into kind of the formulating and developing product side. And then when I graduated, my hockey career wasn't going to Hollywood, as they say. So I took those products, put them on Google, and I guess the rest is kind of history because there was a demand for kind of cleaner ingredient products then, and there still is to this day. So that's kind of the origin story.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very original. And your first customer base basically were your mates.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, teammates. And then when I made the first kind of production run and put them online, it was actually largely an competitive athlete, and a lot of women who didn't really trust some of the marketing and some of the way that companies at the time were kind of promoting supplements as, bodybuilders and getting jacked and getting, bicep veins and all this stuff. Where our products were always kind of more about athletic performance and just kind of like being the healthiest version of yourself. So it really attracted a different type of customer that the traditional supplement market didn't really cater to. I mean, now you see it a lot more with a lot of more female focused brands, and the supplement industry has kind of morphed into this sort of, there's now beauty within it, there's wellness, there's gut health, all these different kind of subgenres of the supplement industry. But back at the time, it was more just like bodybuilders and like kind of like, targeting kind of the gym rat crowd, which, we still love our, gym rats, but we've tried to kind of, from the beginning, we've kind of appealed to a different, more broad audience, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you mentioned earlier that Facebook was the first platform where you have been trying to get some external reach.
Yeah, Facebook. And it's interesting how our business model has shifted. Like a lot of the direct to consumer brands have, to where things just change so quickly. As you guys even know in tech, trying to keep your product compatible with all these different things in the same way that advertising platforms evolve over time. So at different times during our 11-year history, we've had a lot of success with Facebook, finding new pockets of customers. Instagram was really big for us for a long time, and then just the landscape kind of shifts to where now there's more of an emphasis on TikTok, which we're trying to immerse in and really learn. And just so I think one thing I've learned is that you can't really get too dependent or too hung up on one sort of tactic or marketing strategy, because just the way things change now is just so fast that it's kind of loose footing. You can really get yourself in a bad place if you become too dependent or too reliant on kind of one channel versus the other.
Yeah, makes sense. So you got those leads from at that time. You already have your online shop set up.
We had our
That
own
is.
website. Yeah, we always had our own e-commerce website,
Mhm.
and we kind of just used Facebook to do marketing and advertising and promote the products there, and those would always drive back to our website. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And okay, so once you got those customers in the pipeline, how do you keep in touch with them?
So I would say our most consistent way that we've kept in touch with our customers is via email.
Mhm.
Um, we've really spent a lot of time, and we partner with Klaviyo, which I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be
Yeah.
familiar with, as they've kind of become the standard, I would say, or kind of the gold standard for email marketing. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of there's a learning curve for sure to make sure you're using it in a way that you get the most out of it. But
Mhm.
when you think about, Facebook groups or social media, those companies, they're in charge. So like I said before, we had become very active and even dependent maybe on Instagram at one point,
Yeah.
as a way of keeping in touch with our customer base. But when those algorithms change, all of a sudden Facebook decides, we'd rather have ad revenue. We're going to kind of reduce the reach of your posts and really make you pay to play. That's where email is like, yeah, there's still some nuance in how to make sure your emails are delivered in a way that's visible to your customers, but that's kind of your own channel, if you will. You kind of have a little more control over your emails than you do over any social media platform. So I would say, yeah, for since day one, we've been really consistent with our email and really tried to be great at email, because at the end of the day, um, it's hard to rely on anything else.
That's for sure. And do you also do some content on it? And is the content for existing customers or for new customers?
With our emails.
No, like, do you do some content marketing, a blog or something?
Yeah, content marketing. To me, just because I've been in the space for so long now, that makes me think of SEO. So I do come from a kind of an SEO background where that was in the very beginning, that was a big part of our business and what drove
So
a
it's
lot of
still
the.
on the acquisition side for the content marketing.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, to this day, we still update our blog very regularly, despite I personally see less and less people reading as opposed to going to, TikTok or YouTube, and there is a video content I think is even more popular. But we still spend a lot of time and resources on our content on our blog, just making sure people understand how to use our products to get the best results. They understand the science behind our products, and it's kind of a little bit of marketing, but a lot of just like, we want to communicate to our customer base, have a resource where they can go and learn about how to get the most out of their products, and then also just learn more about our brand, why we use the ingredients that we do. um, I think that's important because a lot of people that we attract, they don't necessarily have a lot of experience or a lot of knowledge even of the ingredients or the science behind them. So that's where we do try and go the extra mile and not just say, here's a great tasting product, have at it, but the thought that we put into the formulas themselves, we like to communicate about them and really let people immerse in our everything about our brand through our blogs. So yeah, we still do a lot of content marketing, even though it's not quite as glamorous as TikTok or some of these other things right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. And okay, so once you got those customers, they trust your brand, how do you invest in retention? What do you do to, keep a good relationship with them? And
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I always say that the supplement industry is one of the ones where, it's easy to get into it. Like you could stand up a protein powder product by next week if you wanted and throw it on Amazon and throw it online. It's a very low barrier to entry market. But I always say it's also one of the hardest to stay in business in because it is so competitive and customers have so many choices. It's like how do you get them to come back? And for us, what we've found is if we are having our customer reorder rate up over 2 or 3 or 4, that's when we're doing our best. So if we're getting customers that and we're not doing a good job of getting them to repurchase, then we're not doing something right. And we've had different periods throughout our company history where we've been haven't been as good as that, but typically that's why we've been able to survive is because we make a product that people do want to buy again. But even that isn't enough. Like you need to have if you're an e-commerce brand, you need to have the technologies and the strategies in place to convince them to come back. So for us, it is our rewards program. That's why we love the Beans product because it's a much more thoughtful version of the existing options that were out there. It's a much better version of what we were using even for loyalty, that we were doing all these customizations and hacking apart this plugin to try and make it play nice with all the other systems we use like Klaviyo. And but at the end of the day, that's a huge part of what compels our customer to come back is that we have a really great loyalty program, and not everyone does because it is kind of a tricky thing to implement and to get it to work with all the other parts of your e-commerce stack. So I would say loyalty, and then just from like a product mix assortment standpoint, kind of launch calendar stuff, just making sure you have a fresh assortment of products. It's kind of, in some ways, it is kind of like your apparel brand where, Lululemon or Nike, they're pumping out new SKUs, new colors, new styles almost daily, which is intimidating to think about how much
Yeah.
money and manpower, woman power that takes to pull off is something that is incredible to witness. But for us, if we can make new flavors and keep that freshness, that matters to our customer as well, and that keeps them coming back to where they'll try our different flavors, but then they want something new. So to convince them from going and trying another brand, um, let's have some new flavors that keeps them excited and engaged with our brand. So I would say loyalty and then kind of product mix freshness, keeping things fresh.
Yeah, makes sense. Marketing is an everyday job. So the moment you stop innovating, you get crushed by the competition. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nonstop. That's kind of the blessing and the curse of D2C is you have control, but if you're not around the clock feeding the beast,
Yes.
then it'll just stop. So it's kind of an endless journey, but it's fun.
Yeah. And you mentioned there was some period where you were having lower retention. So how did you go about it to find out um, where in the pipeline it is broken? Is it on the product? Is it on the service? Do you do some customer survey? How do you get to find out what you need to fix?
Yeah, we're pretty good from a tech perspective of kind of keeping track on where a customer is coming from. So for us, it's more about recognizing, if we're spending on an advertising channel and we're marking them, so that say they came through a Twitter ad or something, if then they're, coming in and they're not spending as much as from another channel, or they're not being as loyal, they're not, their retention isn't quite as high as other channels, then that's something we monitor. So there are things that we've done, mostly around new flavor and new product innovation and development and consistent launches, consistent flavor innovation, and just having that freshness consistently. That's huge for us. When we're not doing that, when we have kind of that stagnation where there's nothing new for longer periods of time, that's when we see kind of that loyalty go through more of a dip, because
Yes.
they like the newness, even if it's just a new product launch or something to keep them excited and re-engage with the brand. And you see that with other, competitors in the space, whether, Ghost is a great competitor of ours. I have a lot of respect for what they do, and they're just fantastic about just new flavor here, new pre-workout there. They're a good example of a brand that realizes that newness and flavor innovation is what creates just that loyalty and keeps people coming back for more.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that's kind of what the brand is in control of. But then there are other things like, different channels will drive different types of customers. So we're always trying to be wary of that as well, and just really monitor and make sure wherever we're spending our marketing efforts is bringing in a customer who really is kind of open to being loyal to us as well.
Okay, perfect. I think we did we have a good overview of your marketing strategy in terms of acquisition, but also retention. And yes, I can agree with you that being innovative is a must today. People are used to short rewards. People are used to getting distracted very quickly. So if you really want to get in your customer mind, you need to be innovative, to bring new stuff out. And that's the perfect strategy. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's perfect, but at the end of the day, I will say, because people have so many options, if you can make your rewards program really irresistible, that's huge. Because again, not everyone does that, because it is kind of a trickier thing to implement. But think of Starbucks or Target, or the brands that really have a lot of brand loyalty. I mean, two massive brands that are just great in a lot of different areas. But a lot of the brands that we really look up to these days, they've got a great loyalty and incentive program that just keeps you engaged. And another thing is that it's another reason to reach out to your customer. What we love about Beans is one of the flows we implemented that already has a lot of traction and has had a lot of success, is just when they make an order, or they perform an action that we're going to reward, is just sending out a quick little email. Hey, you just earned 500 beans, or whatever it may be. It's just an automation within Klaviyo, but because the data is always unique, those emails, they get delivered, they get seen, they get opened, and it doesn't have to be something flashy with graphics. It's just kind of that little that feedback to the customer that just it really showcases the tech. Like, this was instantaneous. We even, not to get too into the weeds, we made a marketing email that was kind of like weaponized, if you will, with we called it like a Unicoin airdrop technology, but a fancy way of saying we linked the button click on the email to receiving some free beans points. But because of the open API, we were able to build something quite quickly and relatively easily, using Klaviyo and Zapier to connect everything. And it was incredible just response, and it was just cool. It was kind of something that you don't see a lot, especially when it comes to integrating loyalty into your marketing. But just an example of how we quickly developed something using Beans that with our older platform would have never been possible, not even close. So it's exciting to have now some more kind of like the shiny new toy, a really great product in Beans that we can really use to make our loyalty program even better.
All right. Thank you for the feedback. And yes, it's really important to to be innovative and creative. All right.
Yeah.
So this leads us to the end of this podcast. Thank you for being with us, and thank you, Lance, for your time.
Yeah, of course, man. Happy to do it.